And just allow yourself to come back to center. Allow the awareness, the attention and the focus to unhook themselves from the world outside. And to rehook themselves on the world inside. The outside world will always do its thing. The sights and sounds and sensations. But allow yourself to just unhook from that and to drop deeply within. भैया आप साउंड बढ़ा दो थोड़ा सा. Allow that awareness to merge with your breath. So that you become fully immersed. The attention, the awareness, fully immersed in the breath. As it just gently flows in and flows out. And as you inhale, feel that sacred, powerful, divine prana, that life force that is breathing itself into you. Feel that life force come in and touch and awaken and fill every cell of your being. Take in that power. That prana. It's the energy of this sacred land and this sacred creation. It's energy that comes from across the tops of the Himalayas, that blows across the sacred Mother Ganga. And then flows into you. Feel it. Feel it come in and infuse the physical body and the vital body, the energetic body. Feel yourself breathing in that same prana of the sages and the saints and the rishis. Feel their life force in you. Slowly and gently, bring the palms of your hands together at chest level and gently rub the palms of your hands against each other. Press the palms of your hands into your closed eyes. Slowly lower the hands and open your eyes. Welcome to Satsang. Beautiful to be all together. And as I was saying in Aarti, so beautiful to be back from Delhi. I was only there for a few hours, but nothing like a very, very short trip to Delhi to really make you appreciate this place. Just coming back has been, it's always heaven, but there's a special heaven that comes when you've been out, even if it's just a few hours. So, beginning with a question from our online internet family joining us from all over the world, and then we'll open it up to any questions that any of you have. How can I stay connected to the divine? In Rishikesh, it was so easy. But back home with work, it's so difficult. Manuel Abba. So our brother Manuel has the same problem that so many people have. And it's a twofold issue. It's an outer issue and it's an inner issue. The outer issue is there is absolutely, undeniably something very special about this land. It's not just that things feel better when we're on vacation, or that things feel better in summer camp, or that things feel better when we don't have work. That's true as well, but you're going to have that regardless of where you go. Here, what you've got also is a power of the land itself, a power of the place itself that is really special and that is really sacred and that is really different. I remember when I had first been in India, I'd been here, well, a total of maybe about 6-7 months by that point. And I was back in Los Angeles because Puja Swamiji, unbeknownst to me at the time, is a very, very, very renowned, revered world leader. When I first met him, I didn't know that. But what I discovered very quickly was He's a renowned world leader. He travels all over the world. He inspires, he teaches, he uplifts, he shares, he blesses. So as it turned out, there was a pilgrimage for world peace that had been scheduled for the summer, July and August of 1997. I had come in September of 96. I was here for those months. Then he had sent me back to America for Jan, Feb, March of 97. Then I was back here from April. And then I found myself in July back in Los Angeles. Not what I had planned at all, but there I was as part of this peace pilgrimage that I had had no idea was taking place. And suddenly I was back in this land of my childhood, but in a completely different situation, because here I was with my guru and enlightened master, with all of these other leaders, talking about world peace. And while we were there, I said to Swamiji, I said, I know that God is everywhere. But why is it that I feel God so much more in Rishikesh than in Los Angeles? And he said, you are right, God is everywhere. God is just as much in Los Angeles and New York and London or Paris or anywhere. He said, but Ganga is Ganga. And that yes and answer is the aspect of that, the first aspect of the question, the first half of the question, which is the place. Yes, God is everywhere. And Ganga is Ganga. There is a reason that this is a land that is spoken about even in our scriptures, written thousands and thousands of years ago. This was already a land to which Bhagwan Ram, Lakshman were coming to do their meditation. We're coming to do puja. It is the land through which the Pandavas walked at the end of their life, quite literally to heaven. Literally, there's no stairway, but it's the pathway up the mountain, literally to heaven, at the end of the Mahabharata. So this is a land in which there is a power that has existed at least for thousands and thousands of years since the scriptures were written, and it was already a place known as this powerhouse. So that's one reason it's hard to go back, is quite literally the energy is different. The vibrational energy is different in other parts of the world. And in the same way that ultimately, spiritually, we can love anyone, and we are meant to love everyone. All of our spiritual traditions teach us to love all. But we all have experienced the fact that it's a lot easier to love some people than other people. That just vibrationally, energetically, there are some people, and I don't mean just romantically, but there are some people for whom love just flows really easily. And then there are some people where you have to keep telling yourself, I see the divine in you. I see the divine in you. And you just sort of say it until you hope eventually it will start to begin to feel true. Because it's energy. And this isn't because of what you know about the people. Sometimes it's people you don't even know. Sometimes it's somebody sitting next to you on a subway or a metro or a bus at the airport. It's vibrational energy. And so in the same way that we feel it with people, it's true with places. But the other reason, the inner reason, so that's the outer reason. The inner reason why it's so much easier to access peace and joy and spiritual connection here than back at home and work, is when we're here, we tend much more likely to actually, stealing Ram Dass's words, be here now. When there's not a whole bunch on our plate, when we don't have to fight traffic to get to work, when we don't have grocery shopping we have to do, other errands we have to run, the plumber we have to call, the kids we have to pick up, without the stress and strain of daily life, it's a lot easier to be here now. And what we know spiritually is that our only hope for happiness is right here, right now. This is the only moment we've got. Whether you're looking for happiness, you're looking for peace, you're looking for divine spiritual connection, awakening, enlightenment, samadhi, regardless of where on the spectrum your aspirations may be, every one of them is only possible right here now. So if I'm not here because I'm in my to-do list, or I'm in what somebody said to me at the office that was obnoxious, or I'm in the fact that this traffic on the freeway is going to make me late for my yoga class, and so I'm really angry, it's very hard to experience that same feeling. Because if I'm not here, how can I feel peace here and now? And so the way to deal with that, aside of course from continuing to just make sure that you get to keep coming back and charging your batteries and coming more frequently and staying longer and all of that good stuff, in addition to that, develop a practice of being here now, wherever you are. It's what a practice of mindfulness is. It's what a practice of awareness is, what consciousness, when we speak about being conscious, being aware, being mindful. The words are not synonyms, but they're used synonymously when we're talking about this practice of just be here. Don't lose the moment, don't be distracted, don't be somewhere else, be right here. Anchor in your breath. Even if you're sitting in a board meeting, even if you're driving your car, even if you're grocery shopping, just be right here. And if you can do that, then you've opened a portal to that peace and to that happiness and to that connection, wherever you are. So that's the practice, is even though you're back there at home and at work, don't let home and work infiltrate every single second and aspect of your consciousness and awareness so that you can't be present in the moment. Just find that presence. It may be standing on a crowded subway. It may be eating a sandwich on a park bench on your lunch hour. But wherever you are, just anchor in that moment. And you'll find that you're able to access it again. More questions? Any questions that anyone here has? Yes?
Sadhviji, you were talking about the role of stress in illness in India today. And I was curious to hear more about that. And does it mean India, unfortunately, is in following in the footsteps of other Western countries? The second part of my question is, certainly in Australia, and I don't think we're unique, there's an absolute epidemic of stress, anxiety and depression. And in this age of instant gratification where school-age primary children are on Prozac or similar, adolescents, young adults. How can we foster greater resilience?
Great questions. Could everyone hear her? No? Okay. So I had spoken in the Arati this evening about stress, and so her first question was, is the reason that India is now experiencing so much stress because they are following in the footsteps of the Western countries? And the second part of the question is, what can we do to help this epidemic, this worldwide epidemic of stress and depression, and our children being put on antidepressant medicine or anti-anxiety medicine? How do we deal with that? So we'll take them both. The first is, yes, sadly, India is absolutely following in the footsteps of the West in that way. One of the things I speak about frequently is it's really beautiful to take things from other countries and cultures and make them your own. You know, trade used to be about spices and fabrics and things like that, but we have a lot more to share with each other than, you know, handicrafts and fabrics and spices. We've got beautiful culture to share. The dilemma is that, sadly, Western people seem to be taking the good stuff from India. We come here, we learn meditation, we learn yoga, we learn Ayurveda, we learn maybe some Vedanta, some philosophy. We allow ourselves to be touched and opened. And sadly, India seems to be taking the worst from the West. And it's not that there aren't good things from the West, there are. But from what I've seen, sadly, that which is getting adopted in India isn't so much the good stuff from the West, but it's the not so good stuff from the West. It's this vision of sophistication and being modern, and that it means I'm not a vegetarian. It means that I drink alcohol. It means that I engage in all sorts of behaviors that the people I see on TV seem to make look like it's really cool. And even though it's completely against what my culture says and completely against what my family says, I'm going to do it because, hey, they look really happy doing it on the TV. And so you get cultures that have been traditionally vegetarian, eating meat. You've got a rise in people smoking cigarettes. You've got a rise in alcoholism, and especially among not the, mountain people who have been brewing this stuff forever, but amongst the sophisticated, modern people living in metropolitan areas who are wanting to seem sophisticated and modern and not backwards like their grandparents. And that's an enormous tragedy. An enormous tragedy. Because that which their grandparents had is the stuff that if you could bottle it, you'd be a billionaire. If you could actually bottle that happiness, that joy, that peace, that inner contentment, you'd be a billionaire. So yes, they are absolutely taking the epidemics of the West. They're taking in, and this is what leads to stress, they're taking in Western values around having more. Traditional Indian values were never around collection and hoarding and having more and more. Those in traditional ancient societies who had were the ones who gave. I mean, sure, there were kings and there were people who had a lot, but they were the ones who shared and who gave. This idea of a successful life being that which is actually measured in tangible things, possessions, money, size of houses, size of cars, jewelry, clothes, is relatively new to Indian culture, and it's done to India the same thing that it's done to the West, which is stress. Because if I need to have more, then I need to make more. And if I need to make more, then I need to work more. And if I need to work more, well, then it means I sleep less, I meditate less, I exercise less, I spend less time with my family. I can be less nice to the person in the cubicle next to me because, God forbid, maybe they're trying to steal my work, get ahead. Then it becomes competition. You know, one of the fun play on words that Puja Swamiji speaks about a lot is how in traditional Indian society we speak about the world as a family. Right? You've probably heard Vasudev Kutumbakam, meaning the world is a family. And I say you've probably heard it because it was the slogan that our Prime Minister gave to the whole G20 gathering. The world is a family, Vasudev Kutumbakam. It comes from our scriptures. The word parivar means family in Hindi. And what Puja Swamiji always says in his beautiful ability to kind of rhyme and have poetry in speech, is he says there's two ways of looking at the world. Either as a parivar, a family, in which we share, or as a bazaar, a marketplace. And in a marketplace, we compete, we grab, your gain is my loss, your loss is my gain. And that we need to shift from this view of the world of a bazaar into the view of a world of a parivar. Sadly, India's gone in the other direction. Traditionally, it was all a parivar, it was all a family. And it's taking much more of this Western capitalist viewpoint of you versus me rather than we. And so it leads to stress. One of the things I was joking about today at the hospital that we went to give the talk is that it's also the place where we get annual checkups. And so I know how they work. And they've got, it's not like a hospital in the West where they charge you per thing. Oh, you need an MRI, it'll cost this much. You need this blood work, it'll cost that much. Here they have different packages. So 4 or 5 different packages, and each package has a whole bunch of different types of tests you can get. And there's a women's package, and there's a this package, and that package. And each package has different prices and different tests that they run. The most expensive package, the one that runs the most tests, is called what? The corporate package. CEO package, right? The guy who's about to keel over and die package, the most expensive, all of the tests. Why? Because people in that position clearly need every possible test that we can run because they're not in very good shape. So I always laugh when you see it's called the corporate package. Like if there were ever a better advertisement not to go into the corporate world, it's the corporate package at the heart hospital. How do we, moving into your second question, how do we address this? Well, first we look at why we have the stress. I always say we're stressed because we're trying to squeeze orange juice from a cow. Meaning, we want something, But we're trying to get it someplace it doesn't exist. What do we want? Happiness, peace, love. Nothing super complex, nothing super esoteric. At the bottom line, what we want is we want joy, deep happiness. Not just I had an ice cream, I'm happy. But a sustained, sustainable, pervasive experience of joy. We want peace in our lives. We want to experience love. Ideally, as much love as possible. But what are we doing? Working ourselves to the bone so I can make more money and buy more things. So, if you imagine you have a cow, this cow gives you something really beautiful. It's called milk. But if in your mind you think what you need is orange juice, you're going to squeeze that poor cow's udders forever. You're never going to get orange juice. And you're actually going to miss the beauty of the milk that you would have gotten from the cow. You're going to be stressed. You're going to be exhausted. You'll end up killing the cow or harming her anyway. And you'll still never get orange juice. And this is what happens in our lives. We are literally trying to squeeze happiness, squeeze meaning, squeeze peace, squeeze love out of places it just doesn't exist. It doesn't exist in money. It doesn't exist in prestige. It doesn't exist in power. It doesn't exist in all of these things that we think will bring it to us. And so we end up missing out on actually what our life is giving us, what we might enjoy in our work, people we might enjoy meeting, some of the work we might actually enjoy doing. Because in my mind, what I need from it is this money which is going to give me happiness. So I've got this single-pointed goal that gets me nowhere. And so we're stressed. And the other aspect of the stress related to that, deeply connected to it, is that the reason that I believe that in order to be happy and peaceful and loving and loved, I need more, is because that's what we learn as kids. Not only the commercialism, it's not just commercials literally showing kids, you should have that, you should have this. But it's actually deeper. We teach our children that their worthiness, their value on planet Earth is based on what they do and what they achieve. This is something I speak about a lot. It's really important because even the best intentioned parents do it. Our children come home with an A on an exam or an A on a report card. And what do we do instinctively? Oh, come here and sit on mommy's lap. Oh, come, my sweetheart. I'm so proud of you. You're so good. Come, let's go have ice cream. Or let's go celebrate. Your child comes home with an F. They failed. Even if you're one of those good parents who doesn't actually slap or hit their children or yell at them or insult them, certainly your face is going to look disappointed. Certainly you're not going to say, oh, my wonderful child, come here and sit on mommy's lap. I'm so proud of you. Come, let's go get ice cream. At the bare minimum, your face is going to go, and what that child learns is, number one, I am responsible for my mom's happiness. Which means happiness is that which you get when what you want happens. Look how happy she is with my A. Look how unhappy she is with my F. Look how happy she is with my sister's A. Look how unhappy she is with my F. Happiness is something we have when what we want happens. That's the first piece they learn. The second piece they learn is, I am worthy of mom's love, worthy of being brought into her arms and her lap, when I have achieved what I am supposed to achieve. When I have been a good boy or a good girl. When by someone else's standards, a teacher, a principal, an examiner, I have done well. And so what we end up with is people who are relentless workaholics. And we wonder, why are we workaholics? Well, we're workaholics because we are trying to prove that we are worthy. We're trying to get that love. And it's all subconscious. And of course, parents love their children even when they fail. We just don't show it. And again, these are the things, the best parents in the world do it. Because we're unconscious. Now that I've said it, you're not going to do it. Because we don't even think about it. Or we think, well, if I love them with an F, what's going to inspire them to study harder in school? Think of other incentives. Pizza, parties, extracurricular activities, being able to go somewhere. I mean, there's all sorts of perks that parents can give their children when they do well in school. But love is not a perk. Your lap and your hugs are not a perk. They're not something that should be given and taken based on whether they've done their chores or behaved well. And so this is why they are stressed. Because as our society, all of our societies, get more and more competitive, I mean, I cannot tell you the friends of mine who are stressed out about their kids getting into the right kindergarten. This is real stuff. Kindergarten. Oh my God, if they don't get into this kindergarten, then they won't get into that elementary school. And oh my God, all the kids go into this college come from that high school. This elementary school feeds into that high school. Like your kid's life is over if you can't get them into the kindergarten you want. What's the poor kid gonna do? Of course they're stressed out. Because of course we have all these conversations right around them thinking that they don't listen or hear or understand. They understand our stress. And what do you have to do for a kindergarten interview? Draw a picture, right? Have a little chat with the person. Imagine how stressful drawing a picture must be. With all of the prep that parents are now sending their kids into kindergarten interviews for. No wonder they're stressed out. The answer is us. We have to change how we interact with our children. And we have to change how we interact with each other and with our friends in front of our children. Which is actually a great challenge and opportunity because it means we get to change how we live and think. If your child watches you stand in front of a mirror every day going, oh my God, I am so fat, I'm so ugly, nobody's ever going to love me. Or watches you say to your husband or to your wife, oh my God, I can't believe I've gained all of this weight, I look awful, how can you bear to look at me? What do our kids learn? That the love of someone as important as your spouse is based on what you look like? Because in a kid's mind, of course, their parents always look beautiful. But this is what they learn. When our kids hear us talking about what other people are wearing, clothing, jewelry, anything related to money or things that somehow we wish we had. God, if you only worked harder, then you'd have more money, then I could buy those types of clothes. What do they learn? This is what brings happiness. To make mom happy, you better bring home the dough so mom can buy this or so dad can have that. They learn our values. And so they're stressed. They watch us be stressed. They hear us all day long say, oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. Oh my God, I'm so stressed. So the kids say, oh my God, I'm so stressed. They pick it up. So it's our challenge, our opportunity to change how we think, change how we speak, change our values. So many parents say, they'll come and they'll say, oh my God, can you talk to my kid? Set my kid straight. And we'll say, well, what's wrong? And the parent will say, oh, they lie to me. Tell my kid how important it is to tell the truth. Now, obviously it's important to tell the truth. But how many of us have been in a situation where we are showering and getting ready, and this is more true in India than the West, but we're showering and getting ready, we're supposed to meet someone, we're running late. The person we're supposed to meet is calling on the phone. We're still getting dressed. Our kid is in the room and we say, pick up the phone, tell them we're on the way. Or, tell them I'm not here. We see who's calling. Tell them I'm not here. Mom's not here. Then our kids start lying to us and we say, I don't know what happened to them. I don't know how they started lying. Set my kids straight. Well, they've just picked up what we've given them. So, yeah, the way out of this with kids is only going to be if we, the adults, can actually grab some real value and ethics in our life. I was reading a beautiful book. I won't go into the details of it. It was a beautiful book, though, about our brains and focus and concentration and attention. And it was talking about how we know that junk food is really bad for our brain, but we don't know how much junk values are really bad for our brain. And they're not just bad for our brain, but they're bad for our families and our lives. And so as parents, we need to, just like we don't let our kids eat junk food, we need to make sure not to let them imbibe and inherit junk values. Great questions. Anybody else? Yeah.
So inside of something that you and Swamiji have said about how we come here and we're here and we can take light back to influence others, oftentimes I imagine we've all found that it's hard to communicate pretty succinctly in a way that might make someone open to changing the way that they think and they live. But you've traveled around the world, as has Swamiji. Have you found any commonalities in how you are able to influence change in the presentations you give, even in the hospital today, that you might be able to share with us?
Beautiful, yeah. More important than the words you say is your own energy. There are fantastic, wonderful, motivational speakers or inspirational speakers or, coaches who speak or whatever. wonderful people who may have really, really beautiful insights and teachings, but they don't have the ability to actually touch and change very many lives because energetically they may not actually be living it. There is a business these days of motivational speaking, of inspirational speaking, of life coaching, and so there's a lot of teaching. And the teachings are great, and everyone should implement them. The problem is that when there isn't that touch, it's really hard to actually get people to open up and change. What I have found is that much more important than the actual words is the way that people feel when they are with you that actually inspires them to want to open up because they feel like, oh, there's actually something here for me. If it's a hot summer day, the air conditioner does not have to shout, "Come over here." Everybody wants to go near the air conditioning because we are hot and sweaty and the air conditioner is giving us cool air and it's great. In the wintertime, when we're shivering, the campfire or the heating vent does not have to shout, or the radiator does not have to shout, "Come over here." We are drawn toward it because we're shivering and we want to get warm. Energetically, we are all looking for that energetic experience that makes us feel in our hearts and souls. It is why we are drawn to spiritual masters on a much deeper level than we are drawn to other people who may have extraordinarily beautiful thoughts and ideas and presentations and whatnot. But we're drawn in a way that our lives get transformed when that person feels like a light, as you say, or like a magnet. And so I would suggest the very best way to actually help others is to work on just making your own light as bright as you can. Don't worry about the semantics. It's not about the words you use. It's about how safe someone feels opening their heart around you. It's about how inspired someone feels around you to open their heart. It's about how someone feels around you that, oh, I want what he has. Wow, let me get closer to that. Let me learn more about that. And so just work on your light. And then when you teach and share, speak from your personal experience. I statements are much better than you statements in just the science of communication. People get much less defensive when you speak about I than when you speak you, right? I mean, this is sort of the art of having a conversation, especially a difficult conversation. Don't say you do this. Say I feel this. Conversation's going to go much better. And in the same way, if what you're looking for is to get someone to open their heart and transform, don't say, you're wrong here, you're wrong there, you need to do this. Just share how you feel when your heart opens. Share what you've learned. Share the experiences that you've had, that you're having. Share your path. And if you're a magnet, then you're going to find that people you share it with want to be on that path as well. And they'll open their hearts right away. Yeah, beautiful. Have a beautiful rest of your evening. And I look so forward to being together tomorrow. And if you have questions that you feel shy to ask in public, or if by chance you're tragically leaving Rishikesh tomorrow and you won't be here, feel free to get your questions to any of our Seva team, and they will write it down and they can get it for me on the sheet that we keep taking 1 or 2 questions from every day.